Viewer discretion is advised.
Next to us is a tiny little scrub hare in the area where the leopard cubs were last night. So possibly they've moved on, possibly they haven't. This is Safari Live. Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Welcome to the Sunrise Safari, and it is an gorgeous day here in South Africa. My name is Brent Smith. I have Craig, aka are in search of the royal cubs, and they were in this area last night. We had the most amazing time with them on foot, getting extremely close to little Shongile, and there is a very strong might have caught something last night and led them off. I'm just double checking through the area, but so far no sign of the royal cubs. Lots of, well, not lots, there were 3 not very relaxed little scrub hares around here, so it probably means they have moved off in the riverbed. I'm going to keep checking here before we do a nice big loop around the edge, make sure there's no tracks. A little mud.
Oh dear, and it seems as though Brent has disappeared, but a very good morning to all of you. You are, of course, on a live safari. My name is Jamie. This morning, Gendre is on camera with me. Gendre, with his giant bandaged thumb, and a mantid. Goody, it's gone now. I know, just flew away. What else is gathered in the pit of the vehicle? Nothing really. Oh, you got him again? No, something else. How wonderful. We are unfortunately stranded this morning on our live safari. I don't want to drive it, and they bite. We are on a live safari, so we do apologize for the loss of Brent. As you can imagine, bringing you a live stream from the middle of the African bush comes with its complications. Chandra is currently fossicking things for us. Thanks, Chandra. Don't bite me, please. Oh, there you go. Oh. Here you go. You can have your phone back now. We're patiently waiting for Bushwalk to be out. It looks as though they're heading out soon. And we, of course, are patiently waiting for Gendre's SD card to be all ready and prepared. That light is very bright. It is a lovely morning out here, and don't forget, because it is a live safari, you can send through any questions that you would like to ask on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or email through to questions@wildearth.tv. Gendre, your attempts are admirable, but so far relatively unsuccessful, which is unusual because when we get into the vehicles in the morning, it's tends to be I don't want to say cesspit. That's not quite the word I'm looking for. Spider! It's under the seat. Gendre, this isn't working very well for us, is it? No.
0 out of 4.
That system. Now I'm doing a patrol around the edge of this area, seeing if there are any tracks of Krula coming back in and taking the cubs out. So far, no luck. Well, we've still got quite a bit of this area to check. Remember, hashtag Safari Live or questions@WildEarthTV if you want to ask us about what we're up to or any of the fantastic animals that we find out here. Now, for those of you new, when you see me move my head just like this, it means I'm looking for leopard tracks. Morning, Tax. No updates yet. One station following up on Kurla's Mampimpan around Mvwetela Dam. No luck yet. I've checked the Shkova. I'm not just checking around to see if there's any encons of them coming out. Oh, there's a redback shrike. Where do you go? To the left. Oh no, there's a chagra. There's a chagra. Go for the chagra. We'll come back for the redback shrike. Oh, there's a to the left. There's a chagra. No, there you go. That was the redback shrike. We see them quite often. There's a little black crowned chagra that was hopping about. Jumped down into the ground. Okay, zoom. That's a brown crown. I can hear him calling down onto the ground. A little bit to the left. Left. Center frame. Here we go. Beautiful call. Oh, it sounds like Bushwalk's out and Herbie's asking me for an update. Morning, Herb. No updates yet. Taxon's doing vertical access. Jamie's doing Weaver's Nest. And we're following up on Kurula's Mampimpan around Mvwetela Dam. No luck yet. What a lovely bird to start with. Listen to that call. Just listening now. Now it's keeping quiet, obviously. There you go. Wonderful. Okay. Okay, so we're going to keep checking very carefully for these wonderful little leopards. While we do that, it sounds like, as I said, Herbie's out, which means James is out, walking in his very distinct style.
That's my distinct style, everybody. Do you like it? It's new. I developed it today. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all very well. It's wonderful to be with you. My name is James Henry, as you can see from that very spiffy new strap that we have in the bottom of the screen. And today I am walking with Wim Durenbraak. Hello, Wim. There is Wim's, small thumb, unusually long for a man of his size. We have matching boots, and we're on our way down towards what we hope will be a discovery of the Hyena Den. So Jamie's going to be driving around the area, we will be walking there, and with any luck we will have the new Hyena Den before the 3-hour drive is up. Herbert is obviously also with us, and we are encouraging you vociferously to ask us questions and send your comments for the course of the walk. Hashtag Safari Live, questions at WildEarthTV. Now, what I would like you to do, I'm also hoping Connor will be up fairly soon. Well, I know he's up, but I mean up in the sky, obviously. We've got a situation here where we haven't had rain now for, proper rain, probably for 2 weeks. And what was a very green landscape has really rather quickly turned quite brown. And I find this a little sad because everything was looking so verdant. Now we've probably got another month of rainy season, proper rainy season. March might give us a bit of rain, but it doesn't normally give a whole lot. And I just think it's quite interesting how dry things have got, how quickly. All of the plants like those Waltheria things which were bursting forth with life are now starting to look a bit withered. The grass here especially is starting to look a bit withered and brown. And of course as we get to the later parts of summer, we're nowhere near the end of summer yet, but as we get to the latter parts of summer, so things just aren't quite looking as green as I thought they might at this time of the year. And I still don't think we've had anything like the normal rainfall yet. I think we're probably about, from an average of about 600 millimeters, which is 24 inches, I think we've probably had about 15 or so. So we're quite a long way shy of our full complement of rain. That's just the way it goes. Come over here, Wimpy. Sorry. Here is a pile of dung, and it's Impala dung. The Impala have clearly been standing around here for the course of the... I'm just having a bit of a laugh at VM's camera angle. That's called a hand tilt. The Impala were here resting for the course of the night. Now, if you're wondering where everything is, leopard-wise, this would have been a very good place for Karula to have returned to sometime during the course of last night. She was off that way with the VM and I last night. We had some beautiful pictures of her standing with a great big sky, black with cloud, and she was sort of framed against that, with beautiful setting sunlight on her, so that was very nice. And then Shongile was just down there. Where Hosana is, we're not sure. VM and I are convinced that yesterday morning, of course, we spent a long time in that drainage line trying to find whatever was causing the consternation of the guinea fowl. We're both pretty sure it wasn't that brown snake eagle that we saw, but perhaps Hosana, so maybe he's in there. I don't know where Karula is. We haven't had any tracks yet. Herbert is definitely the man to find us those tracks, so we'll see if he doesn't pick them up during the course of the morning. Have I done all my housekeeping? Hashtag Safari Live, questions at WildEarthTV. Yes, I have. Have I said who I am? Yes, I have indeed said who I am. That is a very good thing. Abigail, you would like more dung today for your dung and scat book. Abigail, you might be the first person I've ever met who has a dung and scat book, but yes, certainly, we will do our best to find you all sorts of exotic kinds of dung. And as you know, Abigail, you're with the right person on the walk. I am the bush laxative. Any animal that we see will immediately void its bowels, and you will be able to see what it has produced, and your dung and scat book will become a collection for the ages. Well done, Abigail. Yes, anyway, good. Right, the other thing I wanted to show you along here is that the grass has now gone to seed, and as we consider the grass going to seed, as you say, yes, we need the drone to find the hyena den. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. We'll be sending the drone into that area. Look at that remarkable spider's web. And I don't want to pull it apart because I don't know what lives in there. Oh, yes, I can see. I'm just going to turn it around slightly, Vim. There's a microscopic little spider living there. In fact, I don't know that it was a web so much as maybe it's an egg sac. Tiny. It's a real pity we don't have the microscope for this. This thing is less than 1 millimeter long. Can you see it at all, Vim? I doubt it. It's so tiny. But the grass has gone to seed now, which means that I think things are going to start changing for us over here. I think we're going to have to be walking a lot more carefully, because if the grass has gone to seed here, it's definitely gone to seed on the Gabbro Plains up to the north and to the south of where we are, and that means the buffalo are going to come back. And this time of year, as I've said to you, of course, as soon as you stop and you put yourself down on the ground, you will find any manner of wonderful creatures. There is an elegant locust, a pergamorphid grasshopper, if you like, and it is sitting there looking at VM thinking, good heavens, I thought I was fairly disguised today. Now I find myself on television. Is that what you're thinking, old buddy, old pal? This one an adult, very clearly, just stretching its legs there. And that leg stretching is extremely important, same as it is for us, of course, because it does create a bit of metabolic heat in a grasshopper like this. The temperature I'm going to guess at is probably close to 78 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. It's not cold at all this morning. And that means that although it's warm, this grasshopper will still need to heat up a bit before it's able to move around. And thankfully these elegant grasshoppers are pretty sluggish because they're toxic. And so they don't kind of have to invest a huge amount of energy in running away. They don't taste so good to any of the birds. And this one's an adult, as I say, and you can see that if I just turn him round. You can see he's an adult from the fact that he's got those wings. The youngsters do not have wings. He doesn't like you, Vim. You see that?
I don't like him too.
You don't like him either. Why not?
He gives me the eye.
He gives you the eye. He does. They are slightly creepy, these ones. He definitely knows that there's a camera facing him. He's trying to get round the other side. Don't be so shy, you'll be fine. Kirsten says this is the Connor of grasshoppers. It is rather. It's just like Connor. It doesn't like to be on the screen. Not sure it's got quite the same six-pack, but perhaps it does. We can't see the underside of its belly. Alright, let's carry on going. Alright, we're going to try and get some distance down towards where we think the hyenas' dens are. While we do that, Jamie is probably a lot closer to where we think the hyenas' dens are, so let's go and find out if she's found one.
That is indeed the plan. James and myself and Herbie and Jean-Ray and Liam will all be working in tandem in order to just double check and see whether or not these hyena aren't somewhere around here. All of the evidence points towards it. I've checked this area. I've checked this block flat yesterday morning, so I don't think they're in there. It's entirely possible that I missed a termite mound or two during my explorations. So now the question is, are they just further to the south of Treehouse Waterhole? Yesterday morning, I could only describe the hyena tracks as look like a troop of hyenas had walked along that road. Not a clan, a troop. It was like seeing baboon tracks on the road. They were everywhere, up and down, little ones, big ones. Which immediately suggests to me, look, it was more than 4 hyenas were on that road, lying down, sleeping. Would you like to do the sunrise, Andre? It's quite pretty. A gentle bank of clouds that I think is going to be gone very, very shortly. And the gentle cry of a orange-breasted bush shrike. Supposedly saying coffee, tea and me, according to the bird books. I'm not entirely sure what this one's saying though, because it's adding in an extra syllable. Lovely. I'm hoping, while we sit here patiently looking at the sunrise, that we're going to hear a hyena whoop. That would be ideal. Or, even better, see one of them just sort of wander across, looking at us as if to say, where have you been the whole time? We've been waiting for you. If only it were that easy. It'd be very funny if they're all at the Aubrey's Road Hyena Den and leading us in completely the wrong direction. I might have to go and check that later if we don't have any luck here. Very appropriate name that's come through this morning for my first question of the morning, or one of my first questions of the morning. Miss Sky. Wasn't that a lovely Sky, Miss Sky? Miss Sky, we want to know what the difference is between a troop and a clan. It's just a collective noun. So it's a troop of baboons or a troop of monkeys, a clan of hyenas, a pride of lions, a herd of Impala, what was it? What did Jerry call it? A dripping tap of waterbuck or something. It was something like that when we were trying to think of more exciting collective nouns. That's not a real one, believe it or not. We started making up collective nouns for different things. A terranium of terrapins, perhaps? No, that doesn't work. You get the idea. So, troop and clan are official collective nouns. we also made up some unofficial ones as well, because we thought that it's a little bit unfair that lions and wild dogs, packs, wild dogs get their own collective nouns, but all the different antelope species get lumped together as a herd. It's not quite as exciting as them, so we tried to think up different ones. Of course, for the life of me, I can't think of a single one now. I think it was mine was a stink of waterbuck. Okay, hyenas. There's not a single hyena track on this. Oh, there is. There's one hyena track. Now, speaking of our spotted friends, a killer, the reason that hyenas are not part of the dog family, although they do look, and I completely agree with you, they do look an awful lot like dogs. One of the big things that separates them from the dog family is first of all, the shape of their back, the way in which they move. They've got a very sloping back, very powerful front quarters. Their genetics is the big one. In terms of their evolutionary line, if you had to try, between cats and dogs, if you had to try and put them closer to one, they'd probably go closer towards the cat family. But even then, because of one very special particular organ, even then, they're actually not that, they're more closely related to things like mongoose. And that's because they have a very highly developed anal gland. I know that dogs also have anal glands, but hyenas have functional anal glands that they use to paste on grasses. So that's one of the big things. And their family structures, everything in the way in which they operate, their social structures are completely different to your average dog. There's not a single hyena track on this road. Fresh hyena track. So, hyenas are in completely separate family. They're all obviously under the order Carnivora, despite my ability to completely forget that during the TV show. They are canids, felids, cats, and hyenids. Hyena family. So they are totally separate. We get two different... Oh, hello. You again. Good morning. How are you? Look who we've got here. It's our little baby giraffe. His sweetheart. This is now the third day in a row that we've seen them around Treehouse Dam, and with the added bonus of a white-crested helmet shrike hopping about in the branches in front of it. Okay, little baby giraffe, let's go back or forward? Back, I think. Oh, there we go. No, hold on. There's the white-crested helmet shrike. That looks like a little one, actually. It hasn't fully developed the crest around its face. Oh, gone. Let's go back a little bit. Back or forward? Back. Forward. You think forward. But then there's this. Let's try going back. Perhaps Mom will be kind enough to move into an open area. No. That's not working either. Okay. Forward again. I can't even see Mum. Christy says I get an A for effort and presumably an E for result. Here we go. Yeah, beautiful. Best view we've ever had of a giraffe. One bottom. Far away. What are you doing? It's been interesting to watch this. It's been interesting to watch this little giraffe imitating Mom and feeding off. Oh, look, it's got an oxpecker already. Feeding off solid food. They only really start properly feeding on solid food at about 4 months old. This one seems a little bit younger than that to me. But I've seen baby rhino do it as well. Even when they're not quite ready to eat solids, they start nibbling on them. In sort of an exploration. Here's the oxpecker, pecking away. That is one of the most entertaining things to watch in the bush when you have a young animal that has yet to be acquainted with the ever-present oxpeckers on their skin. Particularly with the baby impala, you'll see it. Once I saw an oxpecker land on a baby impala. The poor baby impala shot up and raced off in sheer terror. So it's something that they have to adjust to. That oxpecker nearly got whacked on the head by that giraffe's tail. It's a sensation that they have to get used to. Nibbling away. Where's Mom? Oh, there's Mom. Ah, I can see her. She's very much hidden behind the bushes, just a couple of feet away from her baby. Might be able to... There's her head. Welcome to Donna Sue, who says that this is the first time. How's that oxpecker? Sorry, Donna Sue. Look at it sitting between the ossicones. Donna Sue says this is the first time that she has seen giraffe on here. Donna Sue, welcome to our live safaris. It is lovely to have you on board, and I'm glad that we could share your first giraffe sighting this morning. They are truly fascinating animals, and the longer you look at them, the weirder they look. I remain convinced of that fact. They are very gentle, very peaceful animals to watch. That juvenile oxpecker looks so comfortable there. Perfectly perched. And generally the adults, not generally, the species of red-billed oxpeckers, the adults will always have red bills. The juveniles have black bills. Been a while since I've seen a yellow-billed oxpecker, actually. Those are the only two species that we get. Hello, beautiful. My favorite thing about giraffes is their eyelashes. I love their eyelashes. They're so pretty. Of course, serving a very important function in terms of keeping their eyes protected from their thorny meals. It looks as though the newest thing in giraffe fashion is an oxpecker hat. I'm trying to work out what it looks like. It looks like she's got a floppy piece of hair or something. It's like that. There we go, it's up now. Yes, good morning. And you're just having a quiet rest on the giraffe's head. There she goes, even further away from us now. And sadly, her calf has all but completely disappeared. I think perhaps we shall move on, since they are not playing hard to get off my nose. They are simply just hard to film behind the trees. Okay, to continue our search. This is actually the best view. Sorry, one last view. Trying to put Chandra in the right place. Forward a little. Oh dear. There. No. Hold on. Aww. Trees. Michael, you want to know how long I think it takes a giraffe to get used to having oxpeckers on it? I honestly have no real idea. Couple of hours maybe even just a couple of minutes before it realizes what they are and that they're not a threat, because of course baby animals judge their behavior off the behavior of their mothers. So if they see that their mom isn't panicking just because something's touching them, then they generally will relax quite quickly. Michael, I'm not sure. I really honestly have no idea how long it would take a baby giraffe to get used to the idea of an oxpecker. Elephants, of course, never do. They flat out refuse to allow an oxpecker to sit on them. It's not because they don't have ticks, because they do have ticks. But they just are not in any way interested in having an oxpecker anywhere near their skin. So some animals are not geared towards it. Imagine an oxpecker sitting on a lion, and our lions could certainly do with it. They could do with a thorough deticking. But there's no way on earth an oxpecker would ever be silly enough to land upon a lion. I've seen a few oxpeckers attempt to land on elephants. Look, I think it's having a scratch. Yes, little one. Sorry, welcome to a world of having itchy skin, I imagine. I wonder if they do feel those tick bites as itchy as we do. Or if they have a degree of resistance to them. I mean, we know that they do feel itchy and they do scratch themselves on the trees. But is it as acute as we experience it? Jolly good morning grooming session. Yes, that's why you've got to let oxpeckers sit on you. They'll help with that. Unless you get injured, in which case they are going to be a constant annoyance. Their long dark tongue. Yes. Very fastidious this morning. Right, let us leave our giraffe and go off in search of these hyena. While we do, I'm sure you're all wondering what Brent has been up to. I know he's been furiously searching for those leopards. Let's go and find out if he's got any news on them.
Well, we've done a really big loop around. I've checked all the little mud wallows that we've seen the cubs at before. So now I'm just going to take the loop again a little bit wider. I'm going to check the western edge of quarantine, towards Gallagher shortcut, up towards the Buffelshoek boundary, near where Karula was last seen. And if I can't find any sign of the cubs leaving, and there's some difficult areas there, it's possible that Karula's come back, fetched them, and now taken them back towards a kill. So I'm going to try just slowly do wider and wider circles until we find some sign to follow. Now, for those of you who might have missed yesterday's sunset safari, it was truly one of the most amazing experiences I've had on foot with big cats. We spent close to 2 hours sitting at the closest point within about someone said there was a lion calling. I can't hear them. Let's carry on. It sounds like there was what they're saying, it was well in the north. But between 12, 13 feet and 50 feet, we spent 2 hours with a leopard on foot. Now that is unheard of. A truly magical experience. Now, hopefully we're going to have some magical times with those leopards today still, if I can find them. Remember, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV if you have any questions for me, or James, or Jamie. Now, of course, the wonderful thing about while searching and tracking for leopards is there's always lots of other stuff to look at. So we'll be keeping our eye open for anything interesting. Seems like there were lots of elephants around quarantine last night. And where have they gone to this morning is the question. Now, I know, as James and Tristan have mentioned, you can see the bush has lost that really green glow to it. It is starting to look a little bit dull. Now, if we don't get any more rain in the next 2 months, and quite a bit of rain, I think we're going to be in for another tough dry season, and none of the big water holes are full. The little water holes I've been checking this morning, most of them are dry already. But we're going to continue on, and one of the creatures that loves a good dry season is a hyena, and James is in search of their dead.
Right, well this, everybody, is the hole in which we think there was a hyena lying last night. This is the Philemon's Dip Den. Philemon's Dip Den, I quite like that. And we've checked this thing. Jamie's checked it often. I've checked it relatively often. And we haven't found anything. So we came up here and we walked up here and we just saw one or two things that indicated perhaps the presence of a hyena. Looked to me like just a smoothing of the vegetation around here, indicating some activity. And there are plenty of fresh tracks leading up to this hole. There are flies in this hole. And there's also evidence here, if I point with my stick, that a hyena has been lying down. The soil has been flattened. So they have come here. Now what they did here, I'm not sure, and whether or not perhaps a mother has given birth and left the youngsters in there, I don't know. We wouldn't see them. They'd be on a shelf, hidden, cosseted in the back. It's possible. Perhaps a low-ranking female has come along here to give birth. But definitely there is some hyena activity going on here, and definitely there are hyenas looking for a den, and they may well have found it. I said to Herbie, but why do you think she wouldn't be here now? And he said maybe it's because it's still quite early and they're returning. Otherwise maybe she just investigated and rested here, and maybe she moved on. So we're going to carry on checking the termite mounds around this area, just to see if we can't find any other evidence. So that's quite nice, isn't it? What have you got there?
Dwarf mongoose.
Ah, dwarf mongoose. Dung. There are also dwarf mongoose living here. Have you actually got the animal?
Yeah, I was there. He came out of it all.
Okay, let me just make the noise. Phil, I'll get your question now. There it is. That dwarf mongoose is only 1.5 meters from Wiem. That's about 4 feet. Hello, little fellow. Phil, let's just wait and see if he comes out. Sorry, Bill, not Phil. Bill, you're wondering, you say, with how nasty hyena are to each other, how have they survived as a species? I'm just going to make this call again. Obviously just a little bit nervous. We'll just keep watching there. Bill, hyenas are actually relatively unnasty to each other compared with lions, unless they're fighting over food or unless they're fighting in amongst the clan. Now, when we say they're nasty to each other, yes, they can be. Leopards are actually even nastier. They don't like to be around each other. They won't even tolerate each other's presence. So it's what we perceive as human nastiness. So it's not particularly egalitarian. You've got to fight for everything you get. It's not like a wild dog society where they will look after their sick, where they'll cross-suckle the youngsters sometimes, like they might in lion society. But they do tend to feed each other. They do tend to defend each other when they're in a clan battle, so they will defend each other there. The hierarchy is very strictly enforced, of course, and that's enforced with violence. But when we say they're not nice to each other, yeah, from a human point of view, I guess they aren't, but they're not human. And their sociality, their social system has developed such that it's the most effective way for them as a social carnivore to survive. Without their strict hierarchy, without their strict methods of fighting for food and that sort of thing, the species wouldn't survive. So, look. Just sticking its head out. That is so wonderful. So what you find, Bill, is that although it's tempting to look at it and say, well, these things are clearly not good for each other, surely they can't survive. The very fact that they have survived, that they've got to this stage of their evolutionary history, indicates that their strategy has been far more successful than countless other species that have gone extinct over the course of the eons. So it's much more a question not of they're so nasty, how did they survive? It's what environmental conditions have pushed them to make nastiness such a good way of survival, if you like. They're not that nasty to each other compared with some other species, but yes, I take your point. They're not exactly what we'd call, well, they're not very human with each other. But it's very important, of course, that we don't always anthropomorphize the animals that we see here. I'm just keeping an eye out whether that mongoose is going to come out again. And Diane, yes, for a short time, I suppose it might. You make a very good question, very good point. You say, would the mongoose still be here if the hyena had set up den? I think there are probably mongoose living here. Well, I know there are. We've just seen them. And I also think that there's a rough-scaled plated lizard that lives in this mound. And Diane, what they will do is they will definitely try not to be here when the hyenas have set up full shop. But of course the hyenas have been away from here for months, and so the mongoose has been living here, and they will share it for a time. But because the mongoose have got lots of refuges around their territory, I think you'll find that if hyena activity becomes extensive in this area, they will almost certainly move out and go to one of their other den sites. It's so cool, that. Alright, let's move on here. Bill, I wanted to say one other thing. Oh, there's actually some moisture in there. I wanted to say one other thing about that. We, especially on this show, we love to anthropomorphize the animals. We love to put our human emotions onto them and try and discuss how do they feel about each other. We use the term intelligent quite a lot. We discuss animal intelligence. We talk about how they compare with us in terms of parenting. Often ask questions about how they father creatures. And I love doing that. I mean, it's great fun. But it's always just slightly in the back of my mind, of course, that no two species are the same. So when we try and put our yes, there are similarities between us and all other mammals, and I'm sure that there are emotional similarities between us and all other mammals, but no two mammal species are the same. And so while there might be touches where our sort of anthropomorphic characteristics might be similar in other mammals, to a large extent they will be very different, because the pressures of their lives and the niches that they've occupied are so very different from our own. And so while the easiest way for us to understand an animal is to project our own human characteristics and emotions onto them, it can often lead us away from what's actually going on. And so I think that's why scientists certainly have been very reticent. You're going to hit something, Vim. Stop. Let me just move Vim's aerial. Scientists have been very reticent about attaching human characteristics to mammals. Now, we can do it, of course, because we're not studying these things necessarily from a biological point of view, and only doing things from a cold-hearted scientist's point of view tends to be, well, A, dull, and B, I think you miss out a lot, because there are lots of intangibles and unexperimentable and unprovable theories and concepts around animals, and that's what people like you and I are doing out here. We're coming up with ideas and wild flights of conjecture and fancy to figure out what the animals are doing, and one day the scientists will get to either proving or disproving what you and I think about what's going on here. Good. So we're now going to carry on from termite mound to termite mound and see if we can't find more evidence. Definitely a hyena lay in there. Could have been just a brief temporary refuge, a brief investigation of what's going on here. We know Gwen is off to the far southeast. I don't know if she'll still be there. We also know that Herbie's heard rumours of a den to the south of the reserve. That will definitely be our clan, if there is one. He's not sure of where it was or how permanent it was. So we'll just have to see during the course of the morning. Now, I found a very nice grass species here. It's this one. It is Pogonathra squarosa, the herringbone grass, and it's gone to flower. See that? Beautiful lemon yellow anthers where the pollen sits. And I would guess that these chaps are pollinated probably by the wind. I'm just looking over to where Herbert has found an absolutely massive termite mound. Now, I've driven past this termite mound 100 times because the road is not far from here. But let's just go and have a look at it, because that's the kind of termite mound where we know our hyenas like to live. So we'll see if they've investigated this one. Now I can smell hyena. I'm sure I can smell the anal pasting of a hyena somewhere around here. Ray, I'm afraid this is a question, an answer that's going to be very dissatisfactory to you, because it's an answer that is much like the one, how long is a piece of string? You say, how long does a termite take to create a mound? Well, that mound there, sorry, Vim, if we can come here, that mound there is about 10 feet tall. It's very ancient. The oldest mound in history, I think, has been dated to about 2,200 years or so. So it goes back to, was it more, 2,500 years? I think it was 2,500 years. Of course, that's interesting because it takes us obviously back to the dawn of the sort of common era, if you like. So 2,200, let's say between 2,000 and 2,500 years. That's the oldest one that's ever been sort of dated. But it doesn't mean that it was any bigger than that one. Indeed, it could have been smaller than that one. But because they are reoccupied and then, you know, they go dormant for a while, then they might be reoccupied and then they go dormant for a while. When they're dormant and the rain comes, then they start to wash away. They start to erode, and eventually they'd be flattened completely after probably a couple hundred years, in the case of a termite mound that size. But if it keeps being reoccupied, then it'll get bigger and bigger. So to look at a mound like that and say, well, that's probably about 358 years, 4 months, 3 weeks and 2 days old is completely impossible, because we just don't know how many times they've been reoccupied and unoccupied. A termite, I have seen a termite mound built from, and you'll read various things about this, most of them, as I was saying, wild conjecture, but I've seen a termite mound go from, say, 4 feet off the ground, that's about, well, 4 feet off the ground odd, to about 8 feet off the ground. It was just a big sort of tunnel about that wide, and it just grew straight up like that to about 8 or 9 feet in the course of 2 months or so. So 2 months, they built 4, I don't know how much soil was there, but 4 feet of mound about that wide. You could probably work it out if you wanted to, the total mass. Let's pretend that, we'll do some quick calculations here. We'll pretend that soil has the density of water, which it almost certainly doesn't, because it's much denser than water. What do you think soil's density is?
50 million parts.
Okay. VM's not sure. Let's just go with the same density of water. So we've got roughly, say, a meter wide by, I said 4 feet, which is about 1.5 meters tall. So call it a square meterage of about, I don't know, what's 1 times 1.5? It's 1.5. So 1.5 square meters of soil, which would weigh roughly 1.5 tons. Maybe it's a bit denser than water. So say 2 tons of soil moved into an area like that over the course of 2 months. So 2 tons of soil, or 2 cubic meters also of soil, or 1.5 cubic meters of soil in 2 months. That's the best estimate I can give you, and I know that it's probably slightly dissatisfying, but you'll read all sorts of things about how fast termites can build and how fast they don't build, but I'm really not convinced that anybody has any idea, because I think it really does differ between the termites and depends on the conditions, etc. Alright, we're going to continue searching the termite mounds in this area. Herbie's just up ahead having a look. Let's go and find out how Jamie's search is going.
And perfect timing, because on the subject of termite mounds, we have just arrived at Gwen's. Hopefully, there's somebody home. Please let there be somebody home. It's going nice and slowly. Make sure there's no cub about to come rushing out. It's not looking positive. I don't see any scarred and battered face looking out from the hole. There we go. Oh dear. No luck this morning. Let's just sit quietly for a little bit, see whether or not any of the cubs are getting brave enough to come out. I saw their tracks all over the road as I was making my way in here. So she had them out last night, and they did go out last night. And I see their tracks each and every single morning wandering up and down the road. Tiny little hyena tracks. No luck with our hyenas today. I'm just going to have to keep trying. Katie, you want to know if anyone knows if Gwen is pregnant again? I don't think so. In fact, I strongly doubt it, just because she does still have 2 cubs. They are now 8 months old. It would be a little bit early for her to be pregnant with the next set. It is possible. Obviously, animals don't read the textbooks. Each animal has individual hormones, individual systems, individual biology. But I doubt it. I don't think she is pregnant. I think that she's got these 2 cubs. I think she's still suckling these 2 cubs. She's definitely lactating. There's the bird that was making all the noise. Don't disappear. It was a Natal spurfowl. And it's gone. Disappeared over the termite mound. You often find the francolin around these hyena dens, picking up any little odd bits of ticks and muck and anything that they can find, providing quite a useful cleanup service for hyenas and wild dogs at their den sites. No, I don't think Gwen is pregnant. I could, of course, stand to be corrected. One should never talk in absolutes out here. But I doubt it. I still also think somewhere the rest of the clan is hiding on Djuma. But again, we could be wrong about that. Don't think so, though. That many tracks up and down each and every day, lots and lots of noise all night. Now, quickly before we leave the termite mound den, Janelle, you want to know if hyena will always nest in termite mounds. They don't always den in termite mounds, but usually our spotted hyenas do. I would say easily 80%, probably 90% of spotted hyena dens will be in something like this, especially in this area, when this is essentially the only options they have. Sometimes they den in culverts in the road, and you'll hear about a lot of den sites in the Kruger National Park where there's tarred roads and there's culverts over dips that they will go and they'll den underneath there, as of course we saw Karula and Shadow do with their cubs respectively when they were younger. Brown hyenas have a tendency, depending upon where you find them, to go into slightly more rocky outcrops, caves and so on. But it's very much dependent on the habitat and what's available to them. A termite mound makes a perfect den site because the inside of it is, of course, diggable. You can't dig through rocks, but you can excavate a termite mound. You can make escape tunnels, you can make different entrances. And, of course, what the little cubs do is they will make tiny little places that they can hide that nothing can get to, or nothing larger than they are can get to. Generally, yes, it will be a termite mound. In this area, they don't really have any other option. There's not that many rocky places or caves for them to shelter in. We don't have any what we call in South Africa, we don't have any koppies. A koppie is a pile of rocks, a sort of boulders. It's like a little hill made of rocks. I miss koppies. They are lovely. No, let's not do that. Okay, let me quickly and quite rapidly move past the space where I got stuck yesterday morning. I've still got traumatic memories of spending an hour there, searching desperately for something to show you. Where were you yesterday, Madam Waterbuck? Here we go. A lovely lady waterbuck, and, for those of you that were quick-eyed, a glimpse of a lilac-breasted roller flying past her. I really enjoy the markings of the waterbuck, and their white outlines around their nose and their eyebrows. They're very striking, and look a little bit like face paint. And then, of course, the obvious one, which is the circle. Tail swishing frantically. It's the time of year where flies are at their height, ticks are at their height. Oh, there's 2 of them. It must be this cheetah cutline herd. There's 3 of them. Yeah, it's the cheetah cutline herd. We've become quite familiar with where the waterbuck are. They tend to generally not stray too far unless the season demands it, unless there's not enough food for them or water. One of our largest antelope species, definitely one of the heaviest. Hey, pretty girl. Pretty but very pungent creatures. Okay. We'll leave our waterbuck to their breakfast and start making our way, I think, east towards Cheetah Plains. But before we do, Lauren, you want to know, so how deep does a hyena den extend? I'm actually not sure that it goes all that deep, but remember that generally a hyena den will have been initially constructed by something like an aardvark, which would have dug through into the termite mound, then perhaps a family of warthog might have moved in. I don't think it would extend much more than... It's that Harrier Hawk again. It's going to pop out on that marula tree. I think it's being chased, you know. What's happening here? Yeah, they're chasing it. Hold on. There it goes. It's the Harrier Hawk being chased by another raptor. Now that is something you don't see every day. That's an adult, so it's not the juvenile we saw yesterday morning. Soaring off. Oh, it just goes to show those poor Harrier Hawks are not popular no matter what bird they encounter. Even a member of potentially their own family or similar family. Let's see which bird was chasing it. Sounds a little bit like a Wahlberg's. It's very cross. It's still screeching. It's there on that marula tree. Can you see it there, Jandre? That's why Harrier Hawks are so fascinating, because they get chased by all sorts of things, including... No, that is definitely not a Wahlberg's eagle. That's not an eagle at all. Oh no, that's the juvenile. My mistake. I think that's the juvenile Harrier Hawk. So a completely different situation there. That is the juvenile of the grey bird that we just saw flying off. It could be that they belong to the same family. In fact, I would suggest that that's most likely, that this is the offspring of that adult that we saw. It could also be a juvenile that has left home and is now searching for a potential place to set up shop, so to speak. I'm not quite sure exactly how long Harrier Hawks take to get their adult plumage. Those of you that perhaps could let me know, maybe you know off the top of your head, in which case I'm very impressed. I'm guessing a couple of years, but probably maybe not as long as a battalier, which is around 7. But those of you familiar with our birds, or perhaps with Google at your fingertips, could you please let me know how long it takes a Harrier Hawk chick, or juvenile, not chick, juvenile, to gain its adult plumage? I'd be very interested to know. Let's keep watching this one, because it is, if it's the same, I'm sure it's the same one we saw yesterday, it's going to start foraging. We saw it foraging yesterday. And Harrier Hawks are always interesting to watch, first of all, just because of the way they go about their business, and second of all, because of the way that other birds react to them. Usually with fury and ire. Interesting that we've seen it twice. I'm going to sit patiently and just see what this Harrier Hawk does. I think it's probably going to disappear. But while we do that, James is on foot with an unusual, very tall giant.
I'm not sure if this is the same one Jamie had earlier. I don't think so, because I don't see a little one. But this is a giraffe cow, and she's sitting around Treehouse Dam. That's where we are right now. And above us, Connor is in the air, but unfortunately we can't get a picture from him. This is the same one. There's the baby, just to the left. And she's totally relaxed with us now. She spent quite a long time looking at us, probably about 10 minutes or so. And now we'll just try and go a little bit closer. We'll stay out in the open completely. And we'll just try and get you a view of the little one, who hasn't seen us just yet. As long as we stay in the open and don't do anything silly like run towards her, hopefully she will allow us to get a little bit closer than we are now. Now, as I was saying, Connor is knocking about here looking for the hyena den. We can't get a picture from him, but of course he can cover quite a lot of ground. And so if he sees 16 hyenas lying on the ground, they will be quite obvious. But he does say it's actually quite difficult to spot things like leopards and that sort of thing from the sky, because the resolution on the screen that he watches isn't quite the same as the resolution on the screen that you get when he broadcasts a live picture. Isn't that amazing? You've got a better picture of Connor's drone's eye view than he does. We're just going to walk along this little game path, parallel with the giraffe, not straight towards them. And what that does, of course, is indicate that we are not a threat, and that if we don't hide behind bushes and things, then they're unlikely to have a panic attack at seeing someone the size of VM's vast proportions. There we go. It's always amazed me that an animal that big can possibly be nervous of us, and it just goes to show that our evolutionary history with the animals of Africa has not been one of sort of mutual respect and care. Much more, it's been a sort of antagonistic relationship where we have almost certainly hunted various animals, well, throughout the world, to extinction over the course of our sort of 200,000 year history, and possibly even before that. Our ancestors probably hunted just as much. We're quite close now, we're not too far away. There we go, there's the little one. That's very cool. Them shining in the sun there. And of course it is going to get quite hot today, I think. I don't know if there's any rain promised today. Is there any rain promised today, Kirsten? It says it's going to be 37 degrees today with no rain. That's deeply distressing to me, I must confess. That means that I will be spending the majority of my day in the air-conditioned final control. With permission, of course. Well, Laura, you make a very good point. You say you don't blame the giraffe for being scared, considering that they are being wiped out. Yes, certainly that survey recently indicated that about 50% of giraffe numbers have been obliterated in the last, 21 years or so. Or 50 years, sorry, I think it was 20... And you see, remembering numbers like this is very difficult. I think it was 30% in the last 50 years. 30% of giraffe have been wiped out in the last 30 years. 30% of giraffe have been wiped out in the last 50 years. There you go. Laura, I take your point, except that these animals here have never had any experience of humans in a negative way. They've been in a protected area the whole time. It's a very well secured protected area, so they don't really have a negative experience of human beings. They do genetically, though. And that's not to say, of course, that we know that, for example, if that giraffe has a bad time with people, it will not pass that on genetically to its offspring. But over the course of evolutionary time, the fear of the bipedal human figure has absolutely resulted in them being fearful. And yes, Laura, your point is a good one, because of course the 30% that have been wiped out because of our kind of, one hesitates to use the term insatiable need to kill, but insatiable need to consume and insatiable need to dominate that has become part of our human psyche, which of course also, in my opinion, has its roots in biology. There is Herbert, you can see him there, and Jamie is now going to take you across to a black-bellied bustard. We are not far from the edge of the road here where the hyenas were seen yesterday evening.
we definitely didn't have to look far for this particular black-bellied bustard, and I have now seen it each and every single time I've come to this hyena den. So this is obviously our black-bellied bustard's favourite place. We also saw it that morning of the TV show when Karula had her Impala killed, just here. Now, this seems to be his spot, so much so that I've even started calling him Bob in my mind, because of course my English teacher taught me that alliteration was a good thing. Bob the black-bellied bustard. Unless we already have a Bob. We do, don't we? We've got Bob the Bachelor of Buffelshoek. We can't call him Bob. What's a good boy's name? Oh?
Barry.
Barry the black-bellied bustard, giving his characteristic champagne cork popping call. First the whistle, and then the sort of gearing up for that pop, which involves drawing his head right down towards his body. Birds are particularly vocal this morning. Lots of chirping happening. Just making his territorial call, making sure that every other male black-bellied bustard knows this is his spot, and the females are aware of his presence as well, of course. Let's just wait for him one more time. One more whistling call. Although that black-bellied barbet seems to be overriding everything with its trill, and the woodland's kingfisher. Can hear a Cape turtle dove in the background. Southern masked weaver calling as well. Scrub robin. It's like a bubble that builds up inside them that they have to sort of wait until it floats to the surface and they make that popping sound. Of all of the bird calls, this is probably the most entertaining. And regular as well. I've been sitting and watching him, and it's roughly, I would guess, roughly every minute and a half, maybe 2, that he does it. Like clockwork. Do you remember Herbie's conversation about Franklin's call on the quarter of the hour and on top of the hour? And he kept saying, you see, every time a Franklin called, and it would be something like 17 minutes past 5 or 43 minutes. Just waiting for one more call, because it's so entertaining. I don't think I can get too much closer, unfortunately. Ah, I didn't think of that, Sage. Should have called him... Wait, hold on. Really is like a bubble. Buster, the black-bellied bustard. Okay, Sage, you win. This is Buster, the black-bellied bustard. Hands down, a better name than both Bob and Billy. Sorry, Chandre. Buster is definitely a better name for a black-bellied bustard. Alright, Buster, the black-bellied bustard, we need to get moving. We're going to go all the way to Cheetah Plains. So, we need to come past you, I'm afraid. As we sneak past Buster, let's find out what Brent has been doing with his morning. Never mind, unfortunately, no finding out what Brent's been up to just yet. Unfortunately, his signal has disappeared. It seems as though Rusty's been attacked by the gremlins this morning. Perhaps might put a stopper in our plans of going towards Cheetah Plains. Okay, what shall we do from here then? We can't go that way. We can't go straight and we can't go left, and we've already been right. So perhaps we should turn around and go back. And go back up north. Maybe that's what we should do. Yeah, let's do it. Who knows what we might find. Karula might pop out unexpectedly. Mvula apparently has been around Torchwood, so you never know. He might have popped out on Cheetah Cutline. We'll do this. So that you don't have to potentially face... What is that? Oh, it's that fallen marula tree. You become so familiar with these roads and the way that they look, and you have an image in your mind that when something changes, like for example the loss of that massive dead marula, it catches your attention for a few days afterwards. I'll show you what I mean when we get to this corner. The landscape is very, very, very familiar to us by now. There we go. That's what I mean. That could have, from a distance, been something interesting in the road. I'm not entirely sure what. What I had hoped it was something exciting. Could also potentially, of course, have been a rhino, which wouldn't have been ideal. But it is not. See if we can get these parrots. I think they're nesting somewhere here. Can hear them calling. I've heard them here for the last few days. Let's just try and work out which tree they are in. I think they might have just flown away. It sounds like they're actually quite far.
But we've got some lovely Nyala there, very confiding, walking straight towards Viam and I. And Nyala, quite unlike their giraffe cousins, seem to have a much smaller fear of human beings, even ones that don't live around camps. Now, of course, it's possible that these ones have spent time around one of the camps here. There are lots of camps around the place. So perhaps this cow and her calf have spent time around the camps, maybe Chitwa or down, even up towards Djuma. And perhaps that's why they're not worried about us. They don't associate us with fear. Now, where we are at the moment is at the place where Tristan had all that hyena activity yesterday evening. And so with any luck, we'll find exactly what was going on here. Herbert reckons that perhaps they came towards the old buffalo carcass that was here. That male lion ate about, what was it now, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And he certainly left some rib cage. He probably left a few femur or femoral bones that are able to be crushed. Still have a bit of, well, what must be now fairly rancid marrow in them. But he thinks maybe that's what they've come for. I don't know. We're going to look around here and see what we can see. Let's have one more look at these rather special nyalas. Oh, this is wonderful. They continue to be my favourite, especially because of these wonderful sightings we have on foot. I don't know if you were watching the TV show, but 2 Nyala bulls photobombed in the last show. I was trying to do a segment on Giraffe, and I was sitting in a tree, and the director, who was Kirsten, of course, came across in my ear saying, "There is a giraffe behind me." And this giraffe was, Nyala, behind me, and this Nyala was staring up into the tree where I was sitting, absolutely incredulous at what it was observing. You could see the incredulity on its face. Oh, it's a wonderful sighting. Alrighty, Viam's had enough of it. Let's continue down here. Through the drainage here. We're going to walk on the northern side of it. About what goes into our camp, sorry? Animals. Do animals go into the camp? Yes, these hyenas go into the camp regularly. They pulled the dustbin out the other day, left a great big mess, which we had to clean up in the morning, which was very disgusting. They're largely the only ones that go into the camp. Then we also get bushbuck and Nyala, which will go not so much into the camp, because our camp is sort of set around a courtyard, and it makes animals feel cornered. We have had bushbuck in there before. When they ate Brian's garden. That was an incident we don't want to talk about. And they ate Brian's garden, and they were... What did I want to say about that? But normally they'd be outside the courtyard, so they wouldn't be inside it. They're all around the camp. We'd have them. What have you got there? Well, no marula tree here, but what did we see here? Liam says, where did all of these marulas come from, given that we don't see any marula tree here? You would say Herbert, yes, I would agree. I think Herbert picked up a whole lot and decided to eat them here while we were watching the Nyala. That's a very good point. I found one that wasn't eaten. I'm going to eat it. Let's go up here. Herbie's going to walk along the drainage. Now, Tingana came along here the other day, and I wouldn't like to be a Hyena Den in the way of the great Prince Consort, or the Duke of Djuma, as he's being affectionately called these days. You know, when I started, as many of you know, it was just non-you. You didn't name leopards like this. It was very non-you. It was very un-PC. And now, of course, I've let go of that convention. And here I find myself, all these years later, giving names like the Prince Consort and the Duke of Djuma to the leopard that we see most commonly out here. If my old colleagues could see me now. But we're going to go onto the road now. I'll tell you where we are. Hello, Laurie. Yes, well, that's very easy. You say, can I tell you about any bushwalk experiences I've had that have stayed with me? Well, yes. The in the short term, the things that stay with me from every single bushwalk are the multitude of tick bites that I get on my feet. They stay with me for a few weeks, leaving me itchy to the point of death. You found the den. Laurie, let's get back to you. Herbert has found the Hyena Den. That took him about 3.5 minutes. Listen. They're there. Let's go and have a look. Laurie, it's this kind of experience that will stay with me on bushwalk. And the experience I had, of course, with Shungile in the tree the other day was probably my top highlight, followed closely, probably tie first, with the experience I had of the wild dogs on foot with Andrew it's almost 2 years ago now. Come with me. This is so exciting. Hurrah! I heard the hyena going, ooh. Now, I don't know if we're going to see a hyena, but we're going to find where they live. We won't spend a lot of time here. I will let Jamie come into the area, and she can then come and see. Oh, this is brilliant. Oh, my goodness, Herbert, you're a genius. Look at this. Just look through there. There's a hole in the termite mound. It's exactly where Tingana was hanging around the other day. Now, I'm going to say this has been a collective effort, because Tristan said he found these hyenas here last night. He said, I think they're in this block here. So we'll give him that credit. Okay, so Herbert did see them there. We're not going to go any closer than this, because we'll probably frighten them away, and if you disturb a hyena den enough, they won't come back. But Jamie must come into this area, so I'm just going to tell her that, Jamie, your best approach is going to be to come on the southern side of the drainage line at Elephant Carcass, Or, you know what, no, in fact, try the northern side. You can come in from either northern or southern, but we're about... There's a hyena. Bushbuck. Or Nyala. It's a Nyala. But we're about 100 meters to the east of the junction with the drainage line. I think Herbie's just explaining it to her. How cool is this? So we're going to move out of here. We can't be around here on foot. We might be lucky to see a hyena at some stage in here, but that's definitely some action going on there. There could easily be two very small babies inside there, maybe. What a beautiful... I said that they're like a salubrious neighborhood, these hyenas. Well, this is just gorgeous. In amongst a tambuti grove. Now, this could just be one hyena, but given the number that we saw around here the other day, I don't think so. And I wonder... Right, I think we're going to leave this area now. We'll go and see if we can't pick up on Karula's tracks. Jamie has got not hyenas, but something very large. I'm getting tired of saying that because it's very obvious to you when I say very large and very grey.
Very large, very grey, and very mobile. Racing away into the bushes. We've just encountered this lovely elephant herd, and as you can imagine, I'm bubbling with excitement. So of course, naturally, we bumped into one of my favorite animals to sit with. What are you two boys doing? Scuffling. Two young bulls there, one larger than the other, and then a young cow coming in to see what they're up to. A young and heavily pregnant female. She's absolutely massive. You two? What you up to? Oh, I've missed Ellies. Unfortunately, they're not 100% relaxed. There's tracks of a very big elephant bull in must around here, and I think that's why the females are a little bit on edge, so we're not going to be trying to follow them once they move into this thick vegetation. But let me go forward a little bit so you can see the two boys playing, hopefully, unless they stop. Don't stop. And everything in summer, all of our live drives accompanied to the soundtrack of Woodland's Kingfishers. Definitely two young boys. You won't ever see female calves behaving like this. Not, again, never speak in absolutes. You hardly ever see female calves do this. One definitely smaller than the other, but they're just playing, pushing up against each other, testing each other's strength. The instigator is the little one on the left. Oh no, hold on. One on the right's getting involved as well. Yes, don't pick a fight with somebody who can put their trunk over your head. It seems like a silly thing to do. In fact, can put their entire head over your head. Play and poop at the same time. Oh dear, you are outmatched, little one. There's going to be tears soon. There's going to be squeals. Here we go. The older calf has relinquished his hold on the little one, who is now stuck in a tree. Very difficult to see, unfortunately, and I don't think I can improve our view all that well. Interesting. This is the second time I've had this question in not recent history, but in the last few weeks. Dessa, you want to know what an elephant's skin feels like. And I can imagine it's something that holds a serious fascination. Sorry, look at this baby. It's trying to push the tree down on its rival. And the rival's now saying, well, I could do it better than you can. Watch. Oh, I love elephants. They're so entertaining. Dessa, it feels like... It's very bristly. It's much hairier than you expect it to be. They're covered in short, bristly, very coarse hairs that are almost like the bristles of a scrubbing brush. And then, of course, the skin itself is very rough and very, very, almost inelastic is what I want to say. It's very solid. Their feet, feeling their feet is a truly tremendous thing as well. When you put your hands on the bottom of their feet, you can feel how unbelievably tough the soles of their feet are. These two are having such a ball, and it's such a pity it's behind these trees. Let me just go back a little bit. Their trunk, the inside of the trunk is also quite tough, but at the same time slightly more velvety, and also again filled with tiny coarse hairs to help protect it from getting things stuck up it. Their eyelashes are long and bristly. Their tails, the hair on their tails feels almost the consistency of thin wire. Thin and quite flexible wire. It's not what you expect it to be. It's certainly nothing like human hair. Bristly and, how would I describe it? Yeah, it feels like wire. It feels like wire of about that sort of thickness. Sorry everybody, I think these Ellies, that's the end of our sighting. They've moved into dense bush, and I'm bubbling with excitement about this Hyena Den.